We're all set, Bill.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners for May. I'd like to announce that prior to this meeting, the board met in executive session on a personnel matter. Call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio. Mr. Oliva.
Here.
Mr. McCluskey.
Here.
Mr. Siegel.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Mr. Quinn.
Here.
Dr. Hart.
Here.
Mr. Holmes.
Here.
Mr. Wexler.
Everyone to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our Chief of Police, Mr. John Viola. John.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the
United
to the United States of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one nation under God,
indivisible.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, we have two proclamations to give. I'd ask Commissioner Hart if he would present the first proclamation.
Now, hold on 1 second. I have to find it. Okay, this is a difficult year for graduating seniors. I have one who's going to be graduating next month, and no graduation official ceremony. No proms for student athletes. Their spring seasons ended early. I will say the high school is doing everything possible to make the graduation, that they're reaching out to the kids. So whereas the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania takes great pleasure in acknowledging notable achievements of young adults in the community. And whereas the Board of Commissioners wish to applaud the Township graduating high school senior class of 2020. Whereas graduation is an exciting time, it marks both an ending and beginning, evokes warm memories of the year in the past and big dreams for the future. And whereas today is a milestone, it tells you how far you've come. As Dr. Seuss would say, who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Whereas the Board of Commissioners declare June 11th, 2020, celebratory day for all graduating seniors of Haverford Township. Therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford offer our warmest congratulations on your upcoming graduation. Proclaim this 11th day of May, 2020, Township of Haverford, William Wexler, President.
Congratulations to all the students. I wish we had a representative in our building to accept the proclamation, but I did send a copy to Mr. Holmes. I talked to Dr. Rushi late this afternoon, and she's very thankful on behalf of the staff of that, of recognizing not only the seniors, but our second proclamation, other students as well as the teachers there. So she appreciates the recognition, and on behalf of all the teachers and the students, the senior class of 2020, she thanks us for that proclamation. Well done. Commissioner Holmes, would you please present the second proclamation?
Mr. President, I'm happy to. As we know, graduation isn't just our high school seniors. Our fifth graders are advancing to the middle school, and our eighth graders are advancing to high school all throughout the township. And we also wish to acknowledge the fine work of the teachers who have weathered this current storm we're in to help all of our students of Haverford Township. So, if I may. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania takes great pleasure in acknowledging notable achievements of young adults in the community. Whereas the Board of Commissioners wish to applaud all of Haverford Township's parochial, public, and private school students upon reaching their individual milestone from elementary to middle school and from middle school to high school. Whereas the Board of Commissioners wish to acknowledge and thank all the fine teachers that taught and guided these students on their academic journey. Whereas someone said, the only person who is educated is the one who has learned how to learn and how to change. Therefore, be it proclaimed, the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford offer our warmest congratulations on your upcoming graduations. Proclaim this 11th day of May, 2020, Township of Haverford, William Wexler, President.
Congratulations to all. And also, I couldn't believe, look at the difficulty we have conducting one simple meeting in a month's time frame. The pain that the teachers and the students are enduring to do this every day of the week, all day. And it's utterly amazing that they're persevering through this and all the hard work it's going to. I think every kid on my block that I've talked to said this is much harder than going to school. So congratulations to all of them on their success in moving up. Thank you, Commissioner. Our third item this evening is a presentation by Stephen Kusiplakis of CPA of Barbicane Thornton Company with our 2019 audit results.
Hello, thanks for having me here. We did the audit of the township on site right before everything shut down, so we're there the last week of February into early March conducting the on-site regular field work. The audit's substantially done. We're still waiting on one piece from the library, from the Haverford Library, to incorporate the report, but at this point I can tell you what the results were of the audit. And proceed to the next slide. Okay, right now we plan on giving the statements of the township an unmodified opinion. That basically is a clean opinion. That means there's no modifications to our report, that we feel that the statements are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. We plan on issuing our audit statements in June of 2020, which is consistent with previous years. Like I said before, we're still missing one piece that we need, and that's the separate audit for the Haverford Township Free Library. Their numbers get incorporated into the township's report. You guys can report together due to the relationship with the township and the library. That report is due at the end of this week. We'll put it in. Standards that we followed were auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America. Basically, those standards require us to plan and conduct our audit to obtain reasonable assurance that your statements are free material misstatements. Based on our audit, we feel they are free material misstatements. That's a modified opinion. We also conduct our audit in accordance with government auditing standards, the Yellow Book. And basically, that's where we look at compliance with your laws and regulations and your internal controls over financial reporting. And based on that review, we did not cite any type of issues that we consider to be a significant issue or material weakness in your internal controls. Overall, we felt that the controls in place are operating as intended and would catch material misstatements. Here's the next slide. The township also does spend quite a bit of federal funds. Since they spend more than $750,000 in federal dollars, we do what's called a single audit and uniform grant guidance. We gave an unmodified opinion on compliance. We feel that the township did comply with federal regulations related to their federal programs. There were no internal control issues that we cited over compliance. For the year, total federal dollars spent was $1.2 million. And of that, your community development block grant makes up 96% of your total dollars spent. That's the program we look at every year. The township didn't meet the requirements as a low risk auditee. Basically, what that means is you've been audited the last 2 years for a single audit with no findings. On this slide here is the results of your fund balance at the end of the year, your governmental funds. At the end of the year, the general fund ended the year with a fund balance of $23.7 million compared to $20.6 the year before. That's an increase of a little over $3 million from the previous year. Your other significant fund is your capital projects fund, which went from $9.6 million down to $6.2 million. The reason being is that in the past, last year you issued bonds for some capital projects, and this year you continue to spend those bond proceeds. So that makes sense of that decline. And then your other remaining funds, your CUG and your home fund, which are reported in ending fund balance of about $3,000. See the next slide. Of your fund balance, as I mentioned before, your fund balance for the general fund end of the year about $23.7 million. This is the breakdown of that amount. 12.7 is what's going to be unassigned. That's your unreserved, unrestricted fund balance. You can use it for any purpose. 200,000 is is the form of a sign. The township has set aside some money for cultural recreations. That's your money you get from your full permits and your annual budget amount of $5,000 is in that bucket. The committed piece, the 8.1, is the fund balance that's committed by the board for budgetary reserve. And that's in accordance with your fund balance policy that's in place. The $2.3 million that is restricted, those are funds that are legally restricted. The biggest portion of that is your liquid fuels money at the end of the year. That's restricted for highways and streets. And then the remaining portion of non-spendable, the 340, that's the money that's set up in like prepaid expenses, which is not related to cash flow. Go to your next slide. Some trends. This year, if you look at your revenues for the general fund this year, came in at $46.4 million. The year before, 44.6. That's an increase of about, 3.8 million. The largest increase were in the areas of real estate taxes. This year, there's a 2.15% increase in millage rate. And your charges for services line also increased. Expenditures went from 42.6 million to $43.8 million. That's an increase of $1.2 million. The most significant increases in the areas of public works, sanitation, culture, and recreation. This past year, the general fund did make a transfer to the capital projects fund for $100,000, and then did receive money from the SOAR fund for an amount of $600,000. This year, you passed the budget that was balanced, and as I mentioned before, you came in actually with a surplus of $3.1 million. So you did better. SOAR fund trends, let's point out this year, SOAR fund ended with revenue of $4.7 million versus expenses at 3.7. Year before it was 4.9 revenues versus 3.6 in expenses. So the revenues are up about 300,000 and your expenses remained flat year to year. And I mentioned before, SOAR fund didn't make a transfer to the general fund for 600,000. Okay, next slide. It's one thing there, all the board seem like you want to look at is just the funded status of your pensions. And keep in mind, this is as of 12/31/19. As of right now, it might not be as good due to the way the market's performing, but as of December 31st, 2019, your police pension fund was 70.3% funded compared to 6.7% the year before. And the township was current on all the required MMO payments into the plan. For the non-uniform plan, 12/31/19, you're 83% funded. Year before was 71% funded, a little better. And once again, your required MMO payments for the non-uniform plan. Okay. Next slide. And then another liability that the township has outstanding is your other post-employment benefits liability. As of 12/31/19, it reported a liability of $62.3 million. That's what the actuary came up with. The year before it was 47.3. And as of right now, this is not being funded, which is okay, but that's showing in your book here, $62.3 million. Next slide. I guess then finally, since we had one minor adjustment this past year, which was expected, we helped Amy adjust the pension liability in the books. We did every year based off the actual report, as expected. Our audit did go smooth this year. We did good cooperation from management and members of staff. Everything that we asked for was uploaded to our online portal ahead of time, so we could actually get a head start on your audit and help us move through it pretty quickly. And then the audit results were reviewed with Amy before this meeting, so she's aware of everything I discussed. You can review it. All right, any questions?
Any questions by any members of the board?
Yeah, I have just one.
Sure.
It's a clarification where you indicated that the revenue increased by 3.8 million. Based on the numbers that were there, I think it's 1.8 million.
Yeah.
It said 44.6 to 48
Yeah,
to 46.4.
You caught me. I noticed that too. I was reading it as a typo.
Okay,
Apologize for that.
all right, just checking.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Great.
All right.
Thank you very much for the.
You're welcome.
Next is our township auditor update. I see Mr. Anderson is on there.
I'm here. Hope everybody is safe. I just want to say I've reviewed the expenditures and the warrants for this meeting. I found no irregularities, and all my questions were answered to my satisfaction.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Next item is our citizens forum. We did have people send in numerous comments. I'll go through them, I'll present them, and then we can go through by subject pretty much. This could take, we have about 16 people that had asked to speak at tonight's meeting, including Senator Leach. I'll do his first. His chief of staff sent us his message or his portion of the public comment, which is about a page. As your state senator, I wanted to offer an update on the issues you've been working on in Harrisburg and in the community. Despite my office being physically closed, my staff and I have been working harder than ever to assist our constituents. We strive to be a source of information and support during these challenging times. So we started sending out newsletters on a weekly basis, which offers information about the latest news, important resources, and grant opportunities for municipalities, individuals, and small businesses. In addition, we've started doing regular telephone town halls, Facebook Live events, and Zoom meetings. If you haven't done so already, please consider visiting my webpage and signing up to receive information at www.senatorleach.com. To date, more than 1.7 Pennsylvanians have filed for regular unemployment compensation. In addition, and an additional 136,000 have filed for pandemic unemployment assistance. Regretfully, our system was not equipped for the demand that we are currently seeing, and my constituents have experienced a myriad of issues related to filing their claims. My office is able to help. We have legislative liaisons with whom we work to resolve these matters. If you or someone you know is still having problems, please contact my office at senatorleach@pasenate.com or via telephone at 610-728-4200. Again, that's 610-728-4200. By now, I'm sure you're aware that Pennsylvania has postponed the primary election date to June 2nd. I'm urging all Pennsylvania voters to vote in the safety of their own homes in June by voting by mail. You can apply to receive your mail-in ballot by going to votespa.com and filling out a form, where you can contact my office and we will gladly mail you a paper application. Voters have until 5 p.m. on May 26th to apply. In April, my office worked with the Wolf administration to make changes to Pennsylvania's medical marijuana program. Pennsylvania dispensaries now have curbside sales consistent with social distancing recommendations. This has really helped protect patients and staff. Well, we've recently learned that the governor has extended his stay-at-home orders for our area until June 4th. The state has also recently lifted restrictions on certain businesses and in certain locations. Still, following life-sustaining business guidance, golf courses, marinas, and campgrounds are now open for business. I know that these orders have caused great hardship to many, and I'm hoping to have further thoughtful discussion about how to safely and responsibly reopen our community soon. Finally, many first responders and compromised individuals in the community have expressed the need for masks and hand sanitizer, and I have been distributing what supplies I am able to acquire. If you or someone you know is in need, please contact my office. Thank you, commissioners, for your time and for your hard work and dedication to your constituents under difficult circumstances. Please stay safe, and we'll all get through this together. Sincerely, Senator Dalen Leach. That's a statement from Senator Leach's office to all our constituents. This one comes from Miss Janet Lee. I am writing because I have heard that some residents are requesting the Caricon be closed to all vehicular traffic until stay-at-home orders are lifted. I respectfully oppose this request. I live at 909 Powder Mill Lane, right across from the park, and during warm weather, months of traffic on our residential street increases significantly as people flock to Powder Mill Park. On some days, it's difficult to find parking. I understand that there is also a concern for cars speeding down Caricon may create a safety risk to pedestrians and cyclists on Caricon. However, the answer to that is to have a police presence on Caricon to ensure safety rules, not to close Caricon and divert those speeding drivers to Powder Mill Lane, a residential street. If you have any questions, please call me. Thank you, Janet Lee. She provides her phone number. which I'll provide this to all the commissioners. Next one is from Courtney Kelly of 109 Woodbine Road. To whom it may concern, I am in favor of temporarily closing Caricon Drive through the summer to allow for recreational activities such as walking, running, biking, and hiking. Sincerely, Courtney Kelly. Right, this one is on the police incident. Commissioners and neighbors, I want to publicly express my concern about the arrest made Sunday, May 3rd in the Kohl's parking lot, as reported in the Philadelphia Inquirer on May the 8th. I understand that footage is being circulated is incomplete and that the DA's office is investigating the incident, but my concerns are around the response from the police department and the overall police culture. Despite what might have happened before the video began, there is no justification for continued use of a weapon against a suspect after they are pinned to the ground. Number two, by the department's account, Mr. Rossetti was not causing any type of disturbance before being approached by the officer involved. So if the situation got out of control, why does that responsibility not fall to the officers? If the resources don't exist for the officers dealing with possible mental health issues, including substance-induced behavior, to call for backup for mental health professionals, I hope the township will move to put such resources in place. In addition, ongoing de-escalation training seems warranted. Number three, Chief Iola's comments in the Inquirer article seem to indicate that resisting arrest alone is justification for beating by police. This is deeply troubling, especially in cases where the arrest itself might not be justified. Many issues, including mental health and past experience with police, can prompt an individual to resist arrest, and I fail to see how inflicting additional trauma protects anyone. The assumption that police should wield unquestioned authority, all too common, and is a danger to public safety. It undermines trust between the community and the police. I hope the Haverford Township Police Department will work to challenge and eliminate it. In the meantime, I think it's reasonable to expect suspension of the officers from active duty pending the results of the Delaware County District Attorney's Office investigation, and that the details of the internal investigation be made public or at least shared with the Board of Commissioners. Krista Kerber, 811 Powder Mill Lane, Wynwood, Pennsylvania. Next item is from Chris Shelton. Dear Haverford Board of Commissioners, a video recently reported by the media documents violent actions by Haverford Police against a person reported sleeping in the Kohl's parking lot. An Inquirer article quotes Chief Iola stating that the officers have been cleared of any wrongdoing by the department. I find it unacceptable that Haverford police officers would respond with violence against a sleeping homeless person. The Haverford Board of Commissioners should immediately request the following from Chief Iola. 1, the complete department investigation report documenting the clearance of the officers. And 2, suspension of the officers from active duty pending an investigation by the Delaware County District Attorney's Office. Sincerely, Chris Shelton, 1307 Edgewood Road. This is another one about the closing of Caricon Drive, and pretty much repeats the other one. It's from Krista Gerber of 811 Powder Mill Road, who also commented on the police incident. This is another one on the police incident. This is from Cassidy DePaul. All public questions need to be addressed. Why should citizens feel safe with 2 violent police officers still on active duty? Number 2, did the board watch the video agreeing with the police chief that the officers did nothing wrong and beating this man on the ground at least 17 times? Number 3, will anything be done to look into violence perpetrated by the Haverford Township Police to see how much of an ongoing problem this is? Number 4, what will be done to address the problems of unlawful violence? 4A, there were reports that this man was incoherent. Exactly how many different ways was there in which one can be incoherent? 4B, here are my examples. One can be incoherent because of blood-raising sugar levels, incoherent because of foggy mental state, incoherent because something compelled them to sleep in the parking lot, so that when they realized there was one handcuff on them, were they permanently incoherent? Are they internally incoherent? They instinctively start to run. My question is, how were the violent actions of the 2 police officers justified when this person was incoherent? This is from Cassidy DePaul, and she lives on 400 Glendale Road. This is about a dog issue. Please place a sign in the open area of Cadwalder Tract off Edgewood Road, entrance that should read, "Danger, keep dogs on leash due to running after small animals onto train tracks." A young dog was killed recently doing just that. Please protect our pets. This is from Alexis Greetree in the Penfield section. Next comment is from John Kibitz, 3032 Robin Lane. The only way to get to and from the playground, sports fields, and recreation center at Haverford Reserve, the majority of residents of the township, is by vehicle. Not a very good solution for our environment. With that in mind, what are the prospects for a walking or bike path to and from this very important and popular part of Haverford Township? This is from Kaylee Carpenter, 403 Twin Oaks Drive. Thank you, commissioners, for guiding our community through this time. Why have the basketball nets been removed from the hoops behind Chatham Park Elementary School? It is suspected, or is there proof that the COVID-19 virus could travel from basketball players' hands to balls, to the backboard and nets, and thus contaminate other balls coming in contact with either the backboard or net surfaces? Question mark. Have rates of infection or death increased in the last 2 to 3 weeks to such an extent and or been traced back to the township basketball playground used to warrant such a move? The courts seemed like the last place for responsible, socially distanced public play, which is the only play that we've observed over the last 2 weeks of using them daily. We are crestfallen to see them go. Sincerely, Kaylee Carpenter. What's a question on recreation again? Why is Haverford Township taking so long to reopen tennis and pickleball courts, since Upper Darby Health Department has allowed the opening of golf courses and the tennis pickleball courts associated with them? Tennis court dimensions are 2,808 square feet, well in line with social distancing of 6 feet with 4 people in the court. From Mr. Nick Murelli, 2020 Haverford Road, the Ardmore section. To whom it may concern, can the commissioners provide more details regarding agenda item 11.3, removal of the underground fuel storage tank at Brookline School? As a resident who lives directly across the street from Brookline School and parent of 2 young children, I would like to know, 1, when the removal is scheduled to occur? 2, how long the removal is expected to take? 3, what impact there may be on traffic on the 500 block of Sagamore Road? 4, what measures are in place to limit dust, fumes, and other environmental hazards during the removal? 5, how will the site be secured during and after the removal of the storage tank? Thank you in advance for your clarifications. Ryan Crow, 504 Sagamore Road, Havertown. Next one is also about the time. I see you removing the fuel tank at Brookline School. Does this mean you won't be assembling a group of interested people to come up with an alternative usage of Brookline School? I would be interested in participating if you're still going to move forward with this group. Respectfully, Colleen Robinson, 2008 Belvedere Avenue. Next one's about traffic. Hello, I would like to address my concerns regarding the intersection of Steel Road and Westchester Pike. I have witnessed multiple accidents at this intersection, including the 3-car accident last night. Please let me know what steps I need to take to have this issue addressed. I spoke with Judy Trombetta from Senator Leach's office this morning. Thank you, Kristen Korsky, 20 Steel Road, Havertown, Pennsylvania. This is from Rebecca Anthony, 48 Brennan Drive, in the Bryn Mawr section. I am very concerned about the speed at which cars and trucks drive down our street, particularly up and down the hill in front of our home. Our 11-year-old son was hit by a car in October right in front of our house by a distracted driver driving too fast. We are so grateful he survived, but it is all too real for us that it could have been a different outcome. We had reached out to our commissioner soon after the accident happened, and he offered little support, but suggested we could get the signatures of our neighbors to start the evaluation process for speed bumps. We began as a family, we have 5 children, going door to door and received almost 60% of our neighborhood signatures. But due to the pandemic, we were unable to complete it. Our neighborhood has many children and dog walkers.
Can you please offer us some advice as to how to address this concern? Could a radar speed sign be installed so drivers could be more aware until further action can be taken? And this is the 48 Brennan Drive. This is from Tricia Lake. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many local businesses have been forced to close, thus losing several months of revenue. Also, many residents have lost their jobs or have been furloughed or have had their salaries decreased. Many township services have been delayed or discontinued. In light of the township's tax base or loss of funds and the cancellation of many township services, i.e. reduced costs, are you planning on a tax decrease or deferment? If not, why? For the same reasons outlined above, I would also like to know if the school district is planning a tax decrease or deferment, as many of their facilities and services such as buildings, athletic fields, crossing guards, etc. have not been operating. If not, why? Are they at least planning to forego their standard automatic yearly minimal 2% increase? Thank you. Patricia Lake Quinn, 425 Brookline Boulevard. This is about the pandemic. Hello, my name is Jerry Rulo, 300 Brookline Boulevard. A couple questions that I would like to read. As of 4 p.m. today, the Health PA Gov website states 399 people have died in Delaware County from COVID-19. Of those, 399, 320, or over 80% were in nursing homes. Can you please tell us how many of those are in Haverford Township and what percentage of those are in nursing homes? 2, what facts and analysis went into the decision by the commissioners on May 6th to cancel in-person Haverford Township summer camps and recreation programs? 3, I do understand what a serious situation we are currently facing, but before unilaterally stripping people of their God-given liberties, could we not conduct a survey of all the citizens of Haverford Township to get their thoughts and insights? For example, one of the questions would be, as a parent, would you allow your child to participate in outdoor activities with other children with the facts that you understand them to be? Thank you. And Mr. Rulo lives at 300 Brookline Boulevard. That concludes the comments, which is quite a bit. Typically, we address those. I think the one that we want to address first is we'll take a look at the police incident. Chief John Viola, if you could just run us through the incident and then what the police department does in cases like this.
The incident itself resulted, the officers arriving there resulted from a call from someone about someone possibly passed out in the parking lot of Kohl's. Police responded there, encountered the subject, had a lengthy interaction with him, decided to place him under arrest for his own safety. At that point, he took off, ran away with one handcuff, and it went on for a length of time. The officers' interaction with them during the struggle lasted 6 to 7 minutes. But as a result of that, whenever we have a use of force incident where Haverford police officers are involved, we start an immediate internal investigation, which we started first thing Monday morning on the 4th. Later on that morning, I received a call from District Attorney Jack Stolzmeyer that he had received an email and an inquiry from 6ABC about the incident. We had a conversation. We both decided it would be best if I sent everything to him, videos, reports, interviews, criminal complaint, so he could have his detectives and CID do an independent review, which we did first thing Tuesday morning, and it was in his hands from then until today. So at that point, we reviewed the officer's actions during our internal investigation and found that there was no violation of any directives in the use of force that the police officers violated. They remained on duty because we had cleared them, and they were off for 2 days after the incident during the investigation by the district attorney's office. And that's where we are at today.
Thank you, Chief. I think for those that asked, I mean, they have been cleared by the county. The Delaware County District Attorney has completed their investigation. They've provided to the Board of Commissioners and to the Chief of Police a letter saying that they have been cleared and they were justified in the force. And one of the other questions was transparency in this. We will, a press release is going out this evening, and it may have already gone out. It will include the letter from the district attorney. And over the next several days, we will also make the video from the officers' body cams and the car cam available to be shown, so that the entire incident can be viewed by everyone. And that the one portion, the 3 or 4 minute portion that was seen on social media can be expanded so that the entire situation is seen by the public, and that will be made public. We're not going to hide anything. We're not going to, we'll show it in its entirety, and it'll be available to anybody that wants to see it in a transparent mode. And all you have to do is ask, and we will make sure that it will be played and it will be shown, and you'll have the rights to do it under the Freedom of Information Act. We have nothing to hide. Our police officers do a great job. They risk their lives every day. We are satisfied that they perform their duties in an admirable way within the scope of their responsibilities. And we're happy that the district attorney has cleared them and returned them back to duty full, as immediate there. But proper channels were followed. The investigations were done right away. Is the normal course of action, and any use of force is done by a police officer in a township. And then the additional involvement of the district attorney to further investigate and come back to us and clear the officers. So thank you, Chief, for that update. And any other comments by a commissioner on that one before we move on? Great. In broad generalities, the other comments were about Caricon Drive. Again, that's pretty much out of our control to do that. We did look into it. The state came back to us and said, not really, can't do it. There's several reasons. It's a state road. It also is a route for emergency vehicles to get to the other side of Caricon Creek. A lot of our fire trucks, only about half of them fit under that bridge, so we have to travel down Mill Road and around to get into that section for fire prevention to go there. So that's one reason. And then other emergency things, but it's a state road. We don't have control of it. The request was investigated, but was not done. But we still have our annual event that we open it on Sunday afternoons for recreational purposes. So it is open on Sundays for recreation, and that's where we are with that. So I know many people would be in favor of it, but it's just something that's out of our control. The other next major item was the Brookline School. The tank is coming out because it's an environmental hazard. I can get the engineer to address it, but reality is we need to take it out whether we demolish the school or renovate the school. It's an old tank and it's an environmental issue. So it's part of the remediation of the building, whether it's reconstructed or demolished. So Dave Pannoni, Mr. Pannoni, do you want to add anything to that, or? You're muted. Dave.
Yep. I could respond to each one of those questions
Okay.
briefly, if you would like.
Absolutely.
Okay, give me a second here to pull that up. So the first question was, when would the removal be scheduled to occur? And if the board awards the contract tonight, the removal would be in the next month, or it wouldn't be any earlier than a month. It would be 1 to 2 months from now. How long would the removal take? Typically, from beginning to end, 2 to 4 weeks. That there will not be constant activity for those 2 to 4 weeks, but from the beginning to the first piece of equipment on site to the complete end of the job, it would typically be about 2 to 4 weeks. What impact will there be on traffic on the 500 block of Sagamore Road? The staging area will be the parking lot behind the school. And by the way, the tank is in front of the school. The tank is on the Earlington Road side of the school. So there will be some equipment. This is a relatively small job, so it'll be fairly small equipment, utility trucks, a small dump truck, a backhoe, the traffic, the equipment would come onto the property, work all day. Some of that equipment would stay overnight and other equipment would leave daily, typically pickup trucks, utility trucks, which would be daily. I wouldn't expect more than 2 to 4 vehicles at the most. And again, when I say 2 to 4 weeks duration, there will not be that type of activity each day. What measures are in place to limit dust fumes, environmental hazards? An important point, the contractor must be licensed by the state of Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, the low bidder is. So therefore, there are guidelines for removal of those tanks, one of which is that the material that's in the tank. There is some product in the tank right now. We know that just from pulling the lid. That product gets removed. It gets pumped and hauled off-site. There are not anticipated to be fumes. That's one of the reasons why you pull the product, you remove the product and pull that off-site. Anything that stays on site will be covered with plastic if it stays on temporarily. How will the site be secured? Again, the site is in front of the building and there will be a 6-foot-high chain link fence around the excavation and the work area. And at the completion of the job, the site gets stabilized, backfilled and stabilized. And that's everything I have. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Mr. Tony. The next broad topic was traffic. The first one was the intersection of Steel Road and Westchester Pike. This one's kind of near to my heart. I think Chief Ayala and I have talked about this for the last 5 years. Chief, do you want to address? I know we had another accident there last evening.
And we did, Commissioner, that, probably 6 or 7 years ago, we had asked for the retiming of the lights because the problem there was on the eastbound side, the lighted Steel Road, the lighted green, let's try that again. Lighted Steel Road would be red and the other light would be green. So one way or the other, somebody wasn't paying attention, went through one of the lights and then hit one of the stopped cars. It's exactly what happened over the weekend. A tractor trailer was coming down, a vehicle was stopped at the red lighted steel. The other traffic light was green and it rear-ended the truck, drove it into another vehicle. So the timing, once the new lights were installed there, new timing with the radar detection to allow the traffic to flow, knocked that timing off. So we're going to have to readdress that again with the state and the contractor, try and get that rectified because it is a problem. While we were talking about, you were talking about that earlier, Deputy Chief pulled up the stats, and we've had 37 accidents at that intersection since 2017. So we noticed a problem there. We've been there many times, you and I, on serious accidents. So we will address that.
So may I interject?
Go ahead, Steve.
I was there this evening. I just want to congratulate the volunteer firefighters for the tremendous effort that they made in getting victims out of their cars so quickly, and the police department and the paramedics. It was just a hell of a team effort. But I agree. I mean, I travel that roadway often, and something really needs to be done other than the timing of the lights. I don't know what we need to have PennDOT. I believe PennDOT needs to take a look at what's going on there. I mean, it's confusing. There are times that I think that I've almost went through the light because you're seeing the first light and really not seeing the second light. And if somebody's coming out of that intersection there, you're going to hit them. It's a very, can't we get PennDOT as well to take a look at that other than the timing of the lights? And then the other suggestion I make is that I don't know if we could do this, Phil, and it's your award, but maybe not have vehicles exit onto Westchester Pike from there.
Yeah, but if I just may add, I've been getting a lot of emails too, because that's where my ward meets Bill's ward.
Right.
And been getting a lot of emails about that. I'm glad to see, John, that we're addressing the issue. I was going to bring that up this evening in other business.
After we had the lights changed years back, where both lights turned red at the same time, the number of accidents dropped dramatically because both lights turned red at the same time. So therefore, we didn't have that problem of mixing up the lights. We had asked also years ago for strobe lights, but they deemed that they don't install them anymore for health reasons. So it is a PennDOT intersection, Steve, to answer your question. So yes, we will contact PennDOT.
Right. We have been in contact with PennDOT over the years, and as John points out, the number of accidents substantially decreased during the period when we had the lights corrected and timed together. So thank you, Chief. And thanks, Steve and Mario. The other traffic was Brennan Drive. They asked for the radar thing. I'll leave that to Chief and Joe Hagan, Sean, to put that thing up there. And
we'll get it up there tomorrow, the next day.
Yeah, no problem. And recreation was the other one. The pickleball courts and the basketball hoops. at Chatham, basketball at Chatham, pickleball, I guess pickleball's over at Paddock and the tennis courts there. So I know I'll answer it for our recreation department because we're the ones that voted to close and recommend that we close to following the guidelines. We all want to get outdoor active recreation open as quick as we can. And we have to be cognizant of some of the dangers there. And it's not, they're closed because for the good of many, but for the failure of a few, that ignored the warnings and everything like that. We want to open it as much as anybody, and we want to have safe, active outdoor recreation. So as we progress, as regulations get released and get less tightened, we're cognizant of the fact that we will relook at everything every time that there's a decision that comes out of the governor's office, the state, and the county, and we have the ability to relax, especially in the outdoor recreation complexes. We will take those efforts to do it. Obviously, it's a lot more difficult in indoor, the CREC, and any gyms where you have a lot of people congregating. But you can see that in New Jersey, they've actually this week, yesterday, Ocean City and Sea Isle opened their beaches for active outdoor recreation. The causeway that you walk over the bridge into Ocean City from Summers Point's now been reopened for walkers, but not for people to lay in the sun and sit there and congregate. So active outdoor recreation, we're keeping an eye on. And as we can do it, we want to present that hope that we'll be able to do it as quickly and as expeditiously as possible. But right now, based on the guidelines of the district that we're in the state of Pennsylvania, and the guidelines from our governor and the county, we just can't do it yet. So when it's possible, we will do so. We're not going to hold this out as long as we can. We want to get back to recreation in the outdoors as quickly as possible. So I hope that answers the question. Any other comments? Did I miss anything? I'll leave it. This is kind of hard to do when we're not in the same room and have somebody tell me what to do. So I think we've addressed all the major issues. So we'll
Bill,
get
just on CARICOM,
Right.
anybody who walks and runs there almost every day, I would love to see the traffic restricted, but given that we're not able to, it's a state road, we're not able to do that. I wonder, Chief, if we have some more police presence just to be sure that the people who are driving safely there.
We certainly will, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Bill, just to be clear, our parks, every park is closed, correct?
Well, they're closed to certain activities. I mean, I think you can walk through them, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Bill, the parks are open, but the playground equipment's off limits, the basketball courts, the pickleball courts, all of the playing surfaces and all of the playing fields. We're asking folks not to use those because of the contact sports and the other social distancing can't be accomplished in some of those cases. So, but the parks are open, trails are open, but the equipment is not.
Parks are open to walk through.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. At this point, the next item is, we'll turn it over to Mr. Berman for his township manager update.
Thank you, Mr. Wexler. As you know, the township building lobby is now open. So we opened with the construction industry, and we're open to serve the construction industry by appointment only. And so on our website, you'll find an indication of what the specific hours are for coming into the building for permits. And we're asking folks to call in advance, 610-446-1000, to make their appointments with the specific departments that they need to see. Public Works is returning to operations that are consistent with the reopening of the construction industry in Pennsylvania. Trash is generally on schedule. The sewer and highway and tree crews are all getting back into the swing of things. With regard to trash, we ask you to continue to have it out as early as possible on your collection day, and that's because the schedule fluctuates from time to time on a given day. So you may not see the trash collectors on the same time at the same time that you usually see them. So get your trash out as early as possible on the day of collection. Brush collection. Good news. We're tentatively set to resume brush collection on Monday, June 8th. And we've been discussing with the supplier whose site we use to collect our brush, that's where we take it, about the way that they would like it prepared for delivery to their site. They're only accepting untreated wood products, sticks, branches, brush, and wood chips. So we don't want leaves, we don't want grass, we don't want soil, we don't want railroad ties. They prefer to have it without bags or twine, but that becomes a little cumbersome. We're going to work on a notice for residents in the next couple of weeks so that we can get people all the information that we can to help them get the materials collected as quickly as possible. So again, we're tentatively scheduled for Monday, June 8th to resume our Monday brush collection. The spring shredding event, it was canceled on April 25th. That's been tentatively rescheduled for Saturday, June 11th, and that'll be from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. here at the Township Building parking lot. You'll enter from Darby Road and exit onto Manoa Road. And what we'll do is maintain social distancing, and we'll ask that residents remain in their vehicle at all times and have all the shredding materials in their trunk so that we can just remove it for them and avoid any contact whatsoever. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, unemployment rate obviously is going up all over the place. Back in March, which is the latest statistics that are available for Haverford Township, it was 4%, which is up from 3.5% in February. At that time, there were 1,100 people in Haverford Township that were unemployed, and we all realized that that number is probably significantly higher by now. So in light of these unemployment numbers, Commissioner Holmes suggested, and several of the other commissioners agreed, that there may be needs in the community that we can help satisfy. All the commissioners are on board with this plan. I've assigned several members of our staff to reach out to our local food banks and other charitable organizations to identify specific needs. We're exploring the possibility of hosting a non-contact collection of non-perishable food items. So we're going to keep the commissioners and the residents informed of our progress, and you should see something about that on the website, social media, constant contact in the next week or two. Blood drive. Now more than ever, it's important to donate blood and keep up the blood supply. There's a lot of reasons why donating blood at this time are very important. And instead of me kind of winging it, I'd like to bring in Jim McCanns. If you're here, Jim, there you are. Jim, could you pick up on that? Tell us why it's so important right now.
Yes, Mr. Berman, thank you. The Red Cross has noted that there's been a significant reduction in the amount of donors, and it comes from a fear of transmission of this of COVID-19. That's not warranted, and the Red Cross has been taking every step that they can to keep donations safe. And that one of the steps they took was to actually double the square footage of the donation areas from 1,200 square feet to 2,400 square feet, which shut down a lot of donation sites. So we've stepped up. We've opened the CREC to them, to the basketball courts, which is 10,000 square feet, and have made that available for several donation days. But as far as patients go, it's very important right now, more than ever, that we give blood. And I bring that up because some people who have had a positive test for COVID-19 likely have built antibodies. And if they donate blood and they've had that positive test and they're 14 days without symptoms, that blood can be of great use if donated to somebody who's currently suffering from the infection of COVID-19, as those antibodies can assist them in the fight against the disease. Especially anybody who has AB blood, that's in very high demand right now, and it always is. They call it AB elite. It is a difficult one to get, but all blood types are needed, and not just the blood, the plasma, red blood cells. There's a number of things that are needed, a number of components. There is no blood-to-blood transmission with COVID-19. It's safe to give, and it's safe for people to receive. And let's face it, if we're talking about opening up our society, this is one of the first places we should start, is by giving blood. It is safe. We do have these dates coming up on the 26th and the 28th, and we ask that you contact Eileen Matola at the correct? Or contact the Red Cross themselves directly and schedule your visit. They're doing visiting by schedule now. So they're the reasons. And it's important that there's still trauma. We just talked about car accidents. There are still transplants. There's still people who need blood components. And it's more important than ever. I appreciate it.
Jim, thank you.
Dave, could I just add something to that?
Yes, Mr. Lewis.
Just to echo what Jim said about the importance of giving blood. We had a gentleman in his 40s with 3 children and obviously married, and he was in the intensive care unit at Lankenau for about 14 days on a heart and lung machine, waiting for plasma. And he was very fortunate that plasma was found actually in San Francisco. It was flown in, and he has made a gradual recovery over the last couple of weeks and actually left the hospital today. And had it not been for people donating blood and plasma, it might have been a different outcome. So I would just echo that it's important that people give blood, and also if you've tested positive and you're symptom free, as Jim said, for 14 days, you may have the antibodies and they can generate the plasma that can save people's lives.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. So I'll be circulating the flyer announcing the blood drives. Again, thank you to Jim McCanns and Eileen Matolo for putting this together. Eileen's in our Park and Rec department. The dates again are Tuesday, May 26th from noon to 5. I believe Wednesday, May 27th from 7 a.m. to, not Wednesday, May 27th. Go ahead, Brian, you're muted.
The Red Cross was not able to do the 27th due to some scheduling staff.
So it's 2.
So the 26th and the 28th.
The 26th.
And then we're going to try to do another date in June.
Okay, thank you for that. The 26th is noon to 5, and the 28th is 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And Mr. Wexler, that's all I have for now. I did want to touch base with Amy Cuthbertson on a finance matter, so we're going to allow her to speak now, if that's all right with you.
Or if the board remembers, as part of the budget process, we had explained that it was our goal and intention to refund our 2014 bond issue. Refund is the government word for refinance, and that's really as simple as it is. There are some time constraints on that, so the first available opportunity for us to do that was early in 2020, and that was the plan. We were all ready to go, and then COVID hit. So as part of the ramifications of COVID, it damaged the bond market, and it just wasn't the right time for us to sell bonds back in March when we originally had intended to do this. So the last week or so, things have stabilized. We've seen some government sales go through with the size and scope of our government and the size of our borrowing. So our team at PFM has identified a window of opportunity. We are going to try to refund or refinance those bonds this coming week. Thursday, I believe that's the 14th. So hopefully we will garnish the savings that we have intended to. Our debt policy asks that we get at least a 2% savings, so we feel we will far exceed that. So that date, just keep in mind the 14th. After that's done next week or next month, we will report back to the board and to the public as to the actual events and how they went.
Great, thank you, Amy.
Great.
I have a question for Dave. Dave, or maybe Jim, moving forward from the county, are we getting any feedback that if the numbers go down, that they might start to do some contact tracing? Because I'm wondering, I mean, that's a relatively simple thing to do, and maybe in the township, that would be something that some of our employees could help do. A lot of it can be done on the phone. So I don't know, are we getting any feedback from them?
I can't report specifically on that. I did note that I saw some things discussed. Certainly something we can look into. Jim, I don't know if you have any more on that.
I know that Chester County, who is serving as our, Chester County Department of Health, who's serving as Delaware County's Department of Health, has investigators that are doing contact tracing. And I know EMS providers have been contacted to be told that they had contact with somebody who was positive, but usually they knew that, or, you know, the person maybe was out of one of the nursing facilities or believed they'd already been tested for it and knew that they'd been positive. But I would like to see them open that up more, but there's a number of restrictions on how information can be shared and how names can be given out. So they're still trying to untangle that. We are in contact with Chester County on a basis of almost 2 or 3 times, at least a week. And then the county, Delaware County itself is in contact hourly, and we're trying to get information that direction as well. So we're making every effort. It's a difficult route. And I do want to point out one other portion of this. And while there was a mention earlier about this disease being heavily in nursing homes, and it is, that's an environment that is just ripe for this disease to run rampant. It's a vulnerable population close together with needs that require people to move among them, and that's difficult. I think what we're very worried about is moving that onto the general population, where indeed that 70-year-old who may be at home or 80-year-old who has grandkids or whatever does not get exposed via that route. They're not in a nursing home, but they still may have risk factors that are significant. Nobody wants to jump the gun, but we realize that we have to live too. It's quite a balance, and it's difficult. I just want people to be reassured that on a constant basis, we're looking at any possible way we can make things as safe as possible for everybody. Sometimes it may seem like we're taking slow steps, but believe me, we're taking the best steps we can from the guidance we get from multiple sources.
Thank you, Jim.
Bill, may I say something?
That's Steve.
So, just to be clear, and to be transparent, I was tested for the antibodies, and I actually have the antibodies for COVID, although I never was sick. So, the only time I was ill was in January, and that was for several weeks. But never was sick after that. So this is why this illness, this virus is tricky, because you don't know if you're walking around with it and you're asymptomatic. I tested positive for the IgG antibody to COVID, but that does not mean I have it. It just means that I had it. Didn't know it.
Okay. You've got to donate.
Yeah, donate.
Well, I certainly intend to do that. I will be there when you have it. I think it's important that anyone who's tested positive for the IgG antibody to help people who have it. It's a lifesaver, from what I understand.
It is.
But my point is, it is why people want to know why we're so aggressive in doing some of the things we're doing for the parks and whatnot, because you don't know. You don't have to be sick to have COVID.
Correct. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Berman? Good. All right,
That
item number
concludes,
7 on our agenda, finally moving through, is the approval of minutes, for the regular meeting of April 13th. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of April the 13th, 2020.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Lewis. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio,
Yes.
Oliva,
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey,
Yes.
Mr. Siegel,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Dr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes. Item 8 is the approval of warrants. Mr. Holmes.
Mr. President. Mr. President, I move we adopt warrant number 5 of 2020 totaling $7,400,794.73, comprising the general sewer fund payroll for April 16th, 2020 in the amount of $652,939.43. The general and sewer fund payroll for April 30 of 2020 in the amount of $735,404.81. The general fund disbursements number 5 of 2020 in the amount of $1,734,066.89. Did someone have a question?
Keep going.
Sewer fund disbursements number 5 of 2020 in the amount of $1,943,229.76. Community Development Block Grant Fund disbursement number 5 of 2020 in the amount of $41,518.97. The Capital Project Fund disbursement number 5 of 2020 in the amount of $39,750.25. Debt service on the 2014 general obligation issue, interest in the amount of $147,158.75. Debt service on the 2016 general obligation issue, interest in the amount of $120,416.25. Debt service on the 2018 general obligation issue, interest and principal in the amount of $1,984,423.75. And a credit card statement ending April 27th of 2020 in the amount of $1,885.87.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Siegel. Any questions on that? Again, as Mr. Anderson pointed out, he's reviewed everything. And everything seems to be in order, and he recommended approval, so.
As do I.
All right, please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yeah.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Quinn.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes. Item 9 is the Haverford Township Home Improvement Program. I'll go ahead and read it, and somebody can make the motion. There's a motion to approve the submission of the amended 2019 action plan. Who would vote that, please?
Moved.
Mr. Good, and then second? Second by Mr. Oliva. This is part of the amended action plan is, I think not too many people are aware. We've been notified by HUD that we are entitled to receive an additional $493,829 in additional CDBG funding for projects that are directly related to COVID-19. In order to receive that funding, we're required to select projects and amend the action plan. So there are some proposed projects that we've looked at, and I'll go through them if somebody wants to. Provide provision of funding to necessary services for a variety of COVID-related projects, including purchasing protective equipment, cleaning supplies, additional staffing, and online support for our senior citizens in the amount of $8,050. The provision of funding through a sub-recipient agreement to Delaware County Community Action Agency, the County Anti-Poverty Agency, to provide rental, mortgage, and utility assistance to township residents who have lost income due to the stay-at-home order. And that amounts to $250,000 for our residents there. And then also $70,000 to purchase protective equipment and cleaning supplies, $20,000 for police overtime due to the virus. Additional $37,000 will be uncommitted and set aside for future needs. 20% is allocated as the standard administration amount. $100,000 will also be taken from an historic preservation project for Nitre Hall that was not needed to be put into a new project, the Hathaway Haverford Lorraine, to partially fund pedestrian walkway improvements. The balance of funding will come from the 2020 CDBG funds. And then the approval of revised citizen participation plan. HUD has issued a mega waiver that allows communities to lessen a normal 30-day citizen comment period to 5 days and to have any and all meetings remotely. The plan must be revised to reflect that change, which we've done. And so that's the first part of the amended plan. So we have a motion seconded. Would you please call the roll, Mr. Berman?
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yeah.
Mr. Siegel,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Dr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes. The second motion I'll read is we have to authorize Dunleavy to submit this on our behalf. So there's a motion to authorizing Dunleavy Associates to submit application to HUD to add the new COVID-19 funding to our plan.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Holmes, a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Oliva. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio. Sorry, Mr. Oliva,
Donating.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey,
Yes.
Mr. Siegel,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Dr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
and Mr. Wexler.
Yes. Third motion involving the home improvement program is to authorize Dunleavy Associates to submit to HUD the consolidated plan for 2020, 2024, and the action plan for 2020. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved. And second?
Second.
Okay, second there. Some of these projects, for the regular submission, totals about 839,000, 200,000 for Hathaway Haverford Lorraine crosswalk improvements, 30,000 for Lanark Park handicap access, 17,000 Delco CAA homeless shelter, 15,000 Surrey services for seniors, and 31,000 for housing rehabilitation, fair housing administration of 167,000. So we continue to keep those things going in the CDBG money. Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio,
Yes.
Mr. Oliva,
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey,
Yes.
Mr. Siegel,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Dr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
and Mr. Wexler.
Yes. Item 10 is Resolution 2179-2020. Dr. Hart, did you want to read that?
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me try to pull it up here.
If not, I can read. You can make the motion then.
Yeah, hold on, I think I have it. Motion to accept resolution number 2979-2020, grant-funded service agreement, authorizing the Township of Haverford to enter into an agreement with the Darby Creek Valley Association, the grantee, to furnish 8 tidbit water temperature data loggers, 3 hobo depth and temperature loggers, and mounting equipment to the township for temporary installation in the township storm sewer system. Just a background on it, Darby Creek Association got a grant. They want to study the effectiveness of rain gardens. Apparently, even though we've been putting them in, there haven't been a lot of studies to prove how effective they would be. So what they're putting these gauges, or we're putting the gauges in the storm sewers, but they can measure the amount of rainfall and amount of flow in the storm sewers after storms. After they get a baseline, they are going to approach a lot of homeowners, mostly in Ward 7, to see if they would like to have rain gardens installed. And if they can get a number of them, a good number installed, then they can see how effective they are in reducing the flow. The township perspective, we're putting in the monitors.
Okay.
Was that second?
Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Did you get that, Ms. Murray? Any questions? All right, please call that roll.
Mr. D'Amelio,
Yes.
Mr. Oliva, Mr. McCluskey, Mr. Siegel,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Dr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes, is muted.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes, leave it that way. No, no. All right, number 11, I guess for the order of simplicity, I'll just read these. If somebody can make the motion after I do that, that we don't have a lot of these pains
good.
coming live. You guys can, Public Works Department, A, sanitary sewer lining to be used for DCED small water sewer grant in various locations. There's a motion to award a sanitary sewer lining contract to Standard Pipe Services, Newark, Delaware, in the amount of $49,080, submitting the lowest responsible bid. Need a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Siegel. Second. Second by Mr. Quinn. Any questions?
Bill, can we vote for these by just voice acclamation, or do you need to individual?
I think we can. Is Mr. Burns still there? I guess these are pretty much standard business, or? Is that okay, Jim?
You're on mute.
Jim, you're muted.
Jim, you're not, yeah,
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry.
that's
I
okay.
think, yeah, I think we can do that. I mean, the charter says that you have to vote by voice vote when we're enacting ordinances and other items like that by individual voice vote. But I think that we are okay for these types of items to do it by acclamation.
Thank you very much. All in favor of the sanitary sewer lining?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Passes 9-0. B, North Manoa Road Crosswalk. This is using CDBG funds. Motion to award the Manoa Road Crosswalk at Sacred Heart contract in the amount of $56,275, bidding the lowest responsible bid.
So moved.
Yeah,
That's me.
okay, moved twice, but it didn't say who the contractor was.
Dave would know the contract. I think it's, what is it? Premier?
Yes, Bill, it's in the tabulation in your packet.
Yeah,
It's
in the
Premier Construction
Okay,
from Broomall, PA.
so I'll just amend that, Premier Construction, Broomall, PA. Any questions on that? Please, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That passes 9-0.
Bill, I didn't get a second on that.
It was,
Second?
Mario and then Connor, I thought I heard.
Perfect. Thank you.
Item C, Brookline Elementary School. Motion to award the removal of the underground fuel tank at Brookline Elementary School to Ferguson and McCann Incorporated of Aston, Pennsylvania, in the amount of $20,990, submitting the lowest responsible bid. Need a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Sister Seaman, seconded by Dr. Hart. Any questions on that? Any objections? We did have a comment, public comment on that. Please call, or all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. D, Parks and Recreation, motion to award a wearing course contract for the Westgate Park Hockey Rink, J. Queenie and Sons Paving Company, Springfield, Pennsylvania, in the amount of $8,000, submitting the lowest responsible bid.
So moved.
And also part of that is to award a wearing course contract for Richland Park Basketball Court to J. Tarquini and Sons Paving in Springfield in the amount of $8,000, submitting the lowest responsible bid. It's one motion.
Second, can I ask you a question? When
Yes.
is that gonna happen,
After,
Brian?
As soon as the money's approved tonight, Steve, we're going to tell the contractor they can start the work. We expect that to happen sometime in the next 2 weeks. They'll start the work.
Can you let me know definitely?
Absolutely. And the plan is, Steve, also to replace the fencing. There was some problems some
Right.
issues with fencing, and then it got hit by a tree over the last few storms. So the plan is to follow up with the fencing immediately after, but I'll let you know about both of those.
All right, thank you.
Can I ask a question
go
also?
ahead, Mr. Lewis, go ahead, Andy.
And maybe we want to do this after we approve this, but maybe Brian, you can give us an update, either now or next month in terms of the park improvements that we have planned to do this year, and what, if any, projects may be put on hold. So anyway,
I do have a summary that I prepared. I figured we would rather do it in person so you could ask questions. But I will send that out to the commissioners tomorrow. It includes all the projects that were completed in 2019 and all the planned projects for 2020.
Now, some of those could be affected by the COVID situation, but we are slowly getting back to construction, and we expect that we'll be able to continue doing that.
The good thing is construction.
And the grant money still may be available from the state?
Well, the grant money for the 2020 grant round was awarded, it was due on April 22nd. So your project at Polo would have to wait until next year for the DCNR grant round.
Yeah, if there's any money at that point. And with states running huge deficits, my concern is that a lot of these kind of grant programs are going to be done away with, sadly. Okay, thanks. Sorry to interrupt there, Bill.
That's okay. No, I understand. And we all have concerns and for the people, so I think it's a good question. Any other questions on those two paving projects? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 9-0. Next item is our continuation of citizens forum, which we will not have because nobody's sending us any email. Any new business?
I wonder if we could consider possibly having the township put up some signs, well-trafficked areas, and encouraging social distancing, possibly encouraging use of masks. I know we have some things in the parks, but Darby Road and Brookline Boulevard is certainly an area where there have been issues, and it might be something for us to think about.
Yes, agreed, Jerry. I've been getting a lot of complaints about that stuff over there this past week. And then I'm sure as the gas it starts to get warmer out, we'll get more. So I think that's a great idea.
I think all our parks could take a dose of that as well as the Brookline Boulevard in your area.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Bill, I had a question for the chief.
Go ahead.
So one of my constituents suggested that obviously the pedestrian traffic is 20 times what it was pre-COVID, but the question was raised whether pedestrians should be walking with or against traffic. And I know that they're supposed to, if they can't be, they got to be social distance properly, so they may have to cross the street to do that, but and then be with the traffic rather than against it. But what's the general? Is it always was raised that you walk facing traffic?
Well, I was under the same premise. You walk safely, traffic coming at you, because you can see what's coming. It's not coming at your back. But I would say walking safely on the side of the street that has the most room if you're walking in the street. I would encourage using the sidewalks as much as possible, but sometimes it's not possible because of other people walking. But if you're going to walk towards oncoming traffic.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Chief. Sorry. Thanks, Bill.
No, I think you're right. I've seen it too. The general rule for joggers, and Dr. Harker probably, is you ride a bicycle with traffic and run against, so you can see traffic coming and jump out of the way. So
yeah, bicycle's considered a motor vehicle, believe it or not. So
and that's how I always remembered it: running, ride with, walk against. So. Any new business, or we'll just go to other business, Commissioner D'Amelio?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to bring up that accident again and the efforts of the police, the paramedics, and the volunteer firefighters, especially them. It was amazing the effort that they did. It was a serious accident. It was a vehicle overturned as well. It was frightening, and a lot of residents from Bill's ward were there and commenting. And I was going to talk to Bill about it, but I'm glad you brought it up, Bill. I do know you know how bad that area is, and it's something that I still believe that PennDOT has to look at. And I got a question for Dave. Dave, do you know if that project on 476, when things ease up, are we still slated to get that moving, or has that been? Hopefully, that's never shelved.
You're talking the big project, right?
Yeah.
Right. So remember, that's just at the beginning of the design stage. The grant came through 3 to 6 months ago. So there's nothing that I'm aware of that has slowed that job down.
All right.
And the grant's been awarded, right?
Well,
the grant's been awarded, and PennDOT has reached out to start the design process.
Good. Okay. Two other things real quick. The Getty gas station on Westchester Pike, which has been really bad condition. I want to thank Joe Celia Coates for going over there and dealing with it. I still view it as an environmental issue, and I want to know, I have asked that either the Environmental Protection Agency be contacted or the DEP. Has that happened? Dave?
I believe Steve Poole, one of our inspectors, had looked at the property and was in the, I don't know off the top of my head, Steve, if he had contacted DEP yet, but I can certainly follow up on that for you.
Yeah, if he hasn't, I'm pretty disappointed. I want him to do that because of what we viewed in the back area there with that tank, and which looks like oil or gasoline leaking into the ground, seeping into the residents' backyards. It's just not appropriate. We really need to keep an eye on that. I've received, how I found out about it was by several residents who were very concerned, and rightfully so. And Joey was out there, and Joe saw how bad the conditions were out there. And, I just think that now we have to look at the environmental impact of what they're doing, because it was very irresponsible.
Agreed.
The is Public Works and the great job that they've been doing during this COVID emergency. And I had contacted Dan, and Dan, if you could comment on this. Several residents said, well, a couple of residents, not many, questioned about why Public Works drivers were getting out of pickup trucks that were parked on the side. And there's a good reason for that. And I'd like for Dan to explain what that reasoning is. And thank also your men for everything that they're doing during this pandemic.
Thank you, Steve. No, it's an idea we came up with just for following the CDC guidelines of social distancing, not having 3 guys in the truck. We have the driver go out on the route in the trash truck, and the 2 throwers go out in a spare township car or truck, pickup truck, whatever we have available for them. They go out and they park the car or the truck on the street, get out of the truck, finish their route, and then when they're done, they get back in their truck and go back to the yard. Just we hear there's not 3 guys in one truck for an extended period of time.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So I am Bill.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Mario?
Again, just want to talk about that accident there and the need for doing something at that intersection about those traffic lights. I have gotten a lot of people email and call me about that issue, and it's a big issue. We've had a lot of accidents there, so that needs to be dealt with. And again, I want to thank all the residents of the township who have been wearing their masks and have been, when they go out, very diligently. And I do a lot of walking, as many of you have seen me out there. People are moving and giving 6 feet worth of distance. Runners are going onto the grass and going into that lane on Darby Road. So, it's really appreciated when you're walking, that people are actually moving out of the way and doing the right thing. So I want to thank all the residents who really do a great job. So, and all of our township staff who have done a wonderful job during this tough time. And that's all I have, Bill.
Thank you. Mr. McCluskey?
Yeah, just briefly, I want to offer my condolences to the Oakland Fire Company. They lost last week a life member and safety officer, Rick Reeves. My condolences, township condolences to his family, certainly to everyone at the Oakland Firehouse for everything that they're doing. Obviously, it's a difficult time, but they're also out there finding the calls for us on a daily basis. I also want to mention this is typically the time of year when the Haverford Spring Fest is this weekend, and they're still doing a virtual Spring Fest. You can find it on Kelly Center for Music Facebook page or on their YouTube channel. It'll be going on May 15th, 16th, and 17th. So it won't be in the areas where it normally is, but outside. But you can still tune in for this festival. That's we'll hopefully be back next year, bigger and better. And then I'd just like to, as everyone has, everybody's dealing with this at this time, just ask all our residents to hang in there. Incredibly difficult time for everyone, and everyone is dealing with it in their own ways and their own challenges. Difficult for families, and certainly my heart aches for anybody any family that's facing possibility or the potential or the existence of unemployment. Something that it rips at you, and hopefully I wish all of our residents the best and gainful employment as soon as possible. Ask anybody that's dealing with anybody who's sick or has family members that are sick, wish good health and hopefully return to health as soon as possible. Everybody hang in there. Continue to reach out to one another, continue to love one another. Hopefully we'll get through this all together.
Thank you. Mr. Siegel.
Thank you. I couldn't say it better than Commissioner McCluskey just did. Couple of more mundane things. We heard about the primary for people who vote at the CREC. The CREC, even though the building is closed, it will be open on election day for voting. We still strongly encourage everyone to vote by mail. That will make life easier, and be reminded it's going to take about 3 days for the results of that election. And you can register online. It takes a day or two, and you will get confirmation from the county and the state of your mail-in ballot. There's going to be a reminder, there'll be an announcement about a limited Memorial Day ceremony from the township respecting the governor's orders and the current situation. And all I can do is echo what everyone else has said. Thank you to the first responders, the doctors, everyone who's out there, our staff, the public works, and everyone else who has to deal with it. And please just stay safe, stay well, and wear your masks and social distance, please. It's the quickest way to get through this.
Thank you, Mr. Siegel. Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, just to follow up on what Commissioner Oliva said, I think our residents have done a great job in terms of maintaining social distancing. And the other thing I would suggest, and this is a very isolated problem, I think, but we've seen some masks and some gloves discarded along the roadway. And I understand that others have seen them in parking lots and in shopping centers. So I'd ask residents to please take their gloves and their masks home and properly dispose of them in their trash. And that also applies. I think there's only one group that actually is enjoying this pandemic, and that's our pets. They're getting more attention than ever before, and never seen so many people out walking their dog, and it's a great thing to see. But I would ask that residents curb their dog, and also don't use other people's trash cans to dispose of your dog's business. Please, take that home, and like the gloves and the mask, please dispose of that properly in your own trash can, if you would, please. The other thing in terms of voting, I would also encourage, like Commissioner Siegel said, encourage people to vote by mail. This is going to be with the COVID situation combined with a change in the way we're going to be voting this year. If you vote in person, it's actually a written ballot. It's not a machine where you push buttons, and so it's going to be a little more complicated. And that also combined with the county's decision, which I think is a good one, consolidate a number of the polling locations into one. For example, in the 5th Ward, there are 2 voting locations. The 5-1, the 5-3 voting precinct have been consolidated into the 5-2 and 5-4 voting precinct. And everyone that votes in person will have to go to the Coopertown Elementary School. So you're going to have more people if people don't do mail-in ballots. And with consolidation, not only in my ward, but throughout the township, I think you're going to see longer lines, and that should encourage you to vote by mail. Unless you want to stand in line. And it's also, as I said, going to be complicated because it's the first time they're actually going to be voting with a different voting method than they're used to. So encourage again people to vote by mail. So other than that, thanks to all the residents for their being conscientious and following the social distance guidelines. It's been a tough, 7-8 weeks, and really, no end in sight. But we appreciate everybody doing what they can to protect not only your families but other families as well. So stay safe, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Holmes.
Mr. President, thank you. I appreciate all my colleagues' comments about Election Day. Don't take this wrong. I hope I don't see any of you out there, and that everybody takes advantage of the township by mail. Bill, if I could ask a question before I make any more comments, can we confirm that we are having our work session on Monday night, June the 1st, night before Election Day?
Mr. Berman, I think we.
It's fine. I haven't canceled anything. If the board
Normally do not have one the night before Election Day, so it's because of people.
But it's never been June 2nd before, so.
Yeah, it's always been in May or April, but if we don't, I'll make the call. I don't think we'll have it. If the agenda's light, we'll probably cancel in lieu of Election Day, but unless we think we need it, if the township manager has something that's really needs to get us up there, or if things are changing and we have to put things back on the schedule, but we'll see. But as of right now, I would say no.
Okay, that's helpful. I appreciate that, Mr. Wexler. And I just want to encourage everybody to continue to do what you're doing, to be safe, to wear the masks, to exercise social distancing, to set examples for everybody else. And also, to look out for your neighbors. If you haven't seen or heard from somebody in a while on the block, check on them. You can always knock on their window. You can always call them. But see how your neighbors are doing. And if anybody's aware of anybody who needs help, if anybody's aware of folks who've lost their jobs and who may be dealing with issues with food insecurity, please let somebody know so that we can do something about it. The worst thing that could happen in this is if people could suffer, if people end up suffering silently, while surrounded by a community that's unprecedentedly at home all the time and yet unaware of neighbors needing help. It's just really crucial that we keep an eye out for one another right now. So thank you to everybody that is continuing to go to work and to keep us fed, to treat the sick, to police our streets, and to pick up our trash and do everything else that the township employees and all the other folks are doing for us every day. So thank you to everybody for doing that. Folks, stay safe and healthy, and see you at the next meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Quinn.
Thanks, Bill. I would like to thank the chief, Dan and Dave, your staff, I think everybody's just been doing a great job with during all these tough times. And I know that we're all upset about the parks and rec camps that we won't be able to have this year. And I believe that was the right call because of how safe or to make sure it was safe to have, and we couldn't do it. So, and I would like to ask everybody too to vote by mail, as everybody has said. And I know that a lot of the spots have changed their polls, so I will be sending out some stuff the next week or so. So thanks, guys.
Thank you. Dr. Hart.
Yes, thanks, Bill. I echo everybody's thanks of the residents who are, practicing social distancing, wearing masks. The good news is that helped keep the number of cases down. The bad news is there's been 35 deaths in Haverford Township. Most of them are in nursing homes. They're members of our community, and there's a lot of virus in our community as well. Our numbers countywide we are seeing the same amount of cases now as we saw in the middle of April. So we need to try to do more. As Mr. D'Amelio, explained, you can have the virus and not know it. And even if you do develop it, 30 to 40% of people do not have symptoms, but they're spreading the virus. People who do develop symptoms are actually more infectious typically in the day or two before they develop symptoms. Wearing masks in public when you're out, it helps prevent you from spreading the virus to your neighbors. We can get the counts down, we can all get back to a more normal life. So I just, along with the social distancing, I really want to push people to consider wearing masks when they're out. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Hart. I'll just add, I'm not going to add anything to what a doctor says, but I just like to point out we have had some positive things in the township. In addition to everybody doing their part and stopping the spread, as Dr. Hart pointed out, we've had a phenomenal, all these kids that are graduating, we did it at the beginning. Congratulations to them. It's a positive aspect. The hard work that they've had to do, I can't imagine. It's just doing these meetings via the Zooming and the video conferencing is hard enough on the staff and our finance director, our township manager, paramedics director, police chief, time to do it. But to go to school for 6 to 8 hours a day doing it this way is incredibly difficult. And the concept of the teachers of doing it and how positive they were to get these kids graduated on time and moved up, I think it's a real testament to what we can do as a people. And there are some positive things. My neighborhood yesterday had a drive-by. It was a neighbor celebrated their 65th wedding anniversary. And I talked to him. I see him every day when I walk the dog. And he said he thinks they made it. They're 92 years old. And they're very active and outgoing. And they said by quarantining, they think that helped their health so that they got to their 65th wedding anniversary yesterday. It was their actual anniversary. So they had a ton of people standing 20 feet apart, but they love their family, had a big family. It's a positive thing. And they were happy that even though they didn't get to see their family, that they made that 65th year. And I have a neighbor that lives right behind me. He survived 3 weeks on the ECMO machine at Lankenau, and he's back in good health. So there are a lot of positive things coming about this as well. So we will be strong. And I thank all of you for your efforts, as well as all our township employees, public works, especially police, fire, EMS, all of it, finance, codes. Everything's ramping back up. We're getting busier, but still abide by the guidelines. That's all I have. At this time, I'd entertain a motion and we could adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn is moved. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good meeting, Bill.
Thank you.